10. Heimdall battles forces of Hela? Having sole grasp of the title of coolest Thor character with the least screen time, confirmation that Heimdall, Idris Elba, will be getting to slice apart some enemies with his giant sword is always welcome. But this is not the armored Heimdall we have known and loved. This is a cloaked, disguised, and long-haired Heimdall carrying his coveted sword through an unknown forest. It's possible that he may be the only one able to see through, or simply deduce Loki's trickery, and as such fled Asgard with the sword once used to grant access to the other realms. Where he is hiding, or who he is hiding from is the mystery. But his enemy may hold an answer. Taking a closer look at the enemy he's slicing apart as the shot begins, and while its face can't be seen without sword damage, the color and style, as well as the general undead, twisted feel of it, suggests a connection to Hela. She has been known to send her armies of monstrous foot soldiers against her enemies in the past, but one such soldier appearing only in this scene is curious. What does she want with Heimdall? Are the rumors of an Infinity Stone in his possession true? Or is she simply seeking out one of Thor's coolest characters to make sure he gets a role? 9. A plot-relevant wormhole? You would think that on a cosmic planet referred to by its star as a trash dump for the universe, one such garbage chute would be worth a greater amount of inspection. But in a seconds-long shot from the trailer, a wormhole appears that seems much more substantial, and relevant to our plot. Not just due to the size of it, but the fact that it appears to be kicking up a serious storm in its immediate vicinity, both in the air and water. So what's causing it? And most importantly, who's piloting the spaceship that seems to be speeding straight towards it? An intense look for any and all clues to show what appears to be the same rippling black energy around its edge seen previously, with Hela emerging. Taken in its simplest explanation, this rupture is also caused by Hela. Could this be the visual representation of Ragnarok, with a void into space being open to swallow Asgard whole? Or is this planet still Sakaar? We can assume that Thor will be leaving Sakaar at one point, so if this spacecraft painted in a similar fashion is his ride out, this wormhole could be anywhere. 8. Scourge wields familiar weapons. Sure, the movie is set to include an Asgardian prince, a Valkyrie that once defended the path to Valhalla, and even a truly incredible Hulk. But that's all an appetizer to the real hero for many fans, Scourge the Executioner. The half-Asgardian, half-Frost giant powerhouse is to be played by Karl Urban in Ragnarok, and has remained absent from most of the movie's marketing. Since he was famously used as a pawn by malevolent rulers, many immediately assumed that he would be carrying out Hela's orders in the film. But now, we're not so sure. For starters, Scourge isn't a typical villain. He's a tough, violent, and uncompromising warrior. But that's led to him being as much of a help to heroes as a hindrance over his comic book career. And since this shot reveals him unleashing what are distinctly human firearms, it seems most likely that he'll be taking up improvised arms, perhaps pulled from the space junk of Sakaar. Against who, you ask? Judging by his similarly gladiator-inspired costume, we would hazard a guess that Thor may meet at least one fellow gladiator with something to prove. Whether he survives the fight, and whether he truly is fighting on the good side of it remains to be seen. 7. Loki's defense. With some curious backup in the flurry of action in the trailer's last half, it's tempting to see Tom Hiddleston's Loki playfully tossing a pair of daggers, apparently preparing for a fight and simply fist pump with excitement. But more than any other shot in this trailer, the characters involved may reveal much of the overall story, and which side of the fight he winds up on. For starters, those daggers are a new addition to Loki's arsenal, and seem to share color scheme, at least, with Sakaar, or he's just not afraid of clashing. His backup also demands some extra attention, since they are most definitely alien, the one on the left, at least. Which raises a very unexpected question. What could send Loki striding towards a fight, since his stare suggests imminent badassery, flanked by warriors bearing the geometric symbols and outlandish fashion of Sakaar, with a mob of people cowering in fear behind him? Given his villainous past, one might assume that it's him the people are cowering from, having learned of his Odin-centric deception. But if Asgard itself is in danger, as the architecture seems to suggest, would Loki finally make the choice to defend it? It still doesn't explain his partners in combat, nor the people behind him. But it's a compelling shot, to say the least. 6. Thor's new look. Now explained. Audiences were stunned when the first full image of the new Thor was revealed, sporting short hair, war paint, a more gladiatorial costume, and two very un-Thor-like swords. Putting together the pieces of rumor and plot details offered a possible explanation, but now it seems to be confirmed, once and for all. Thor is thrown into gladiatorial combat by the Grand Master, and loses his hair, and a good chunk of his cape, apparently, along the way. At long last, he may resemble the truly terrifying hero that his background in Norse mythology might suggest. As we mentioned before, it seems that the overhaul in terms of Thor's visual style is intended to be something of a rebirth for the actor and character, and not a moment too soon. Age of Ultron implied that there was wisdom and knowledge of the coming Infinity War that only he could access, so with the war now looming, he stands poised to prove his worth, proficiency in combat, and that Mjolnir was never what made him mighty. If it exposes Hemsworth's biceps in the process, all the better. 5. Even the helmet is back. It wouldn't be a Marvel movie without some fun, and in a perfect blend of Jack Kirby-esque design, nonchalant badassitude, and adherence to the comic book roots of the character, Thor gets a brand new helmet. One that seems designed in keeping with Sakar's overall style, but with the flick of a switch, creates a brand new take on Thor's iconic winged helmet. Think Norse mythology meets Thrawn, with a bit of anime thrown in for good measure, and you're close to the bullseye. It's unclear if this is a total coincidence, since the helmet does bear a resemblance to the standard Roman infantry helmet, which is also influencing the design of Thor's other armor pieces. The cheek guards and the silhouette say gladiator, so if the wings are intended to simply add a decorative flair, then it's downright destiny Thor should find himself wearing it, in more ways than one, perhaps. Either that, or it's a case of the Grand Master's armorers having some fun at the expense of the so-called God of Thunder. Both work. 4. An armored Hulk. It may not be the Planet Hulk movie that comic book fans hoped for, and were regularly told was coming from Marvel, but any chance to see Bruce Banner's enormous, green alter ego suit up in armor is one to be taken. In this case, it's the armor previously shown during Thor 3's Comic-Con footage, and more recently in some incredible promotional Ragnarok artwork. Donning some patchwork armor, is it really necessary? A helm, wielding a massive hammer and axe, and some more paint for good measure. Hulk won't even wait for his entrance to open to dive into the arena. But once the shock of seeing the Incredible Hulk dressed up as a gladiator on an alien world wears off, fans might begin to wonder just how he got there, why he stayed, and how his story will lead him away from it, if he is planned to be returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whatever the explanation, Thor's relief at finally finding a friendly face on the other side of the universe is short-lived. This is Hulk, not Bruce Banner. And Hulk is known to have one biological imperative that supersedes all others: smash. 3. Grandmaster and Loki enjoy the fight. Obviously, the Grandmaster wasn't expecting the reveal of a massive, unbeatable green juggernaut to elicit joy from his latest contender, as his reaction is one of stunned surprise. He's not alone in the shock, either. We're assuming his guest is more than surprised to see the Incredible Hulk, considering their last encounter was less than friendly. That's right, Loki himself takes a seat in Grandmaster's presumed private box. Which means the larger plot that leads Thor to Sakaar, and out of it a lot more interesting. Again, the simplest explanation is that Loki has found a new ally to leverage some power over his brother, and used Valkyrie as his go-between. But if you're of the mind that all of this Sakaar action is set after the rise of Hela, and Thor and Loki's sojourn to New York City, he may be arriving to rescue that, negotiate a way out of this situation that benefits himself as much as anyone. Whatever the reason for their meeting, and Grandmaster's insistence on their seating arrangements, fans can look forward to at least part of a scene between Goldblum and Hiddleston, which may be worth the price of admission alone. 2. A more Ruffalo Hulk. The relationship between Thor and Hulk in Ragnarok has been discussed at length, with the stars themselves referring to it as a variation on a buddy road movie between the former Avengers. Given that, it's a bit surprising to see them come to blows when they actually meet millions of miles from their home. But this shot may reveal an answer, since the ever-increasing efforts to fuse the Hulk with Mark Ruffalo's emotions and performance have clearly reached their zenith. As a result, we can read the emotion just fine. Thor recognizes Hulk, but Hulk recognizes Thor, too. And from the looks of it, he didn't want to be found. It's a credit to the animators, digital artists, and Ruffalo that Hulk can visibly be seen thinking about how his situation has changed. This isn't the raging, or confused Hulk of yesterday, either. Ruffalo has previously hinted that the Hulk Banner identity has changed by the time we meet him in Ragnarok, so it may be Hulk in the driver's seat, and not the brilliant scientist everyone knows and loves. It's obviously hard to know if this expression from Hulk actually takes place as a response to that realization, but whatever the case, Hulk is thinking for himself, these days. And if he's looking for a fight, well, let's just hope Thor isn't expecting a rematch of their rage-fueled Avengers bout. 1. The main event. It's clear that this fight between Thor and Hulk has become the highly marketed, much anticipated main event of Ragnarok early on. So it makes sense that the former allies rushing towards THOR to test their strength should be used to punctuate the trailer's final moment. But in the end, it seems unlikely that Thor and Hulk's opposition will actually be a key conflict of the story. Both Ruffalo and Hemsworth have implied or suggested that Thor and Hulk will have a new relationship this time around, and not just a punching match. So the real question isn't who wins or loses, but what happens when the match ends. Where is Hulk mentally, emotionally, and most of all, how did he even get to Sakaar? For Thor, this sudden arrival of a former friend could be seen as a prayer answered, or one too many catastrophes to handle. It's unclear if this story is even intended to return Hulk to the MCU fold, or send him away on a journey all his own, to be picked up when Marvel's plan for the superhero is more firmly in place. All we know is that Thor and Hulk will cross blades in Ragnarok. But the details of how their paths get crossed is the real breeding ground for speculation, theorizing, and excited imagination. So there you have it, Thor fans, every single detail, Easter egg, plot hint, secret character reveal, and wild theory we could pull from the first teaser trailer for Thor, Ragnarok. The trailer now marks the beginning of the official marketing campaign, meaning these questions may be answered or replaced by even stranger mysteries in the weeks and months to come. For now, we welcome any and all secret theories or questions fans may have to add, so be sure to leave them in the comments.